Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you weather without all that social media hype here on your Saturday, February 15th, 2025. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're tracking here for today as we're looking at an outbreak of tornadoes potentially across areas of the deep south. We've been tracking this for a few days. We'll give you the latest from the Storm Prediction Center on this outbreak. We're also still tracking that big Arctic invasion. We're going to give you an update on how cold we think it'll be and how quickly we think it'll move out of the continental United States. And then we're also going to give you an update on a midweek winter storm. Looks like this will be tracking across areas getting into the southern portions of the United States. We'll give you the latest on that as well. Now, before we get going, we'd like to thank any new subscribers here to the channel. Welcome aboard. And if you haven't yet subscribed, what you're waiting for, my friend, please hit that subscribe button there in the bottom right-hand corner. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate you guys' support here on our little channel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture here across the continental United States. Boy, we got some pretty good thunderstorms here to begin our day across portions of Tennessee and Kentucky. Some very heavy rains. Flooding going to be a problem in that portion of the country. Not bad here across the middle of the country, although it is pretty cold here up in the high plains. And if you think it's cold now, you haven't seen anything yet. And out here on the West Coast, California looking better, getting a chance to dry out after those recent heavy rains they had there. But we do have a storm system here approaching the areas of the Pacific Northwest from Seattle on down toward Portland. Now, as far as our active watches and warnings are concerned, looking at some pretty high wind advisories up here, high wind warnings up here across portions of the Northeast and into the Appalachians. We've got flash flood watches in here, again, from flood watches from areas of the Ohio River Valley stretching back toward Arkansas. Here's some winter weather advisories here, a little bit out here in the west as well, but things are at least settling down here in the west. But all the active weather is going to be definitely here in the east for today. Here's a look at the surface map. Again, we got the cold temperatures up here. We do have below zero temperatures, but again, these are nothing by what's coming our way heading in toward Wednesday. Seeing the heavy rains here across portions of the deep south, across the areas of the Tennessee River Valley and up toward Kentucky, and some snows working their ways into the northeast. Let's go ahead and zoom in here and take a look at some of this heavy rain here across portions of Tennessee. Some pretty good downpours getting ready to move into the Nashville area. Heavy rain stretching back up toward Clarksville, Hopkinsville, and stretching over toward Bowling Green. This area is going to continue to see the rain training over the same area, so flooding will continue to be a problem here for a lot of the day. Let's go ahead and break down the severe weather threat that we're tracking here for today across the southeast. We got the latest here from the Storms Prediction Center. So let's go ahead and take a look at that as we're looking at that enhanced area for severe weather here for today. Again, just about the entire state of Mississippi under the gun, Louisiana, portions of Alabama, that's in that enhanced area as well. We're going to go ahead and break this down by the category so you can kind of see how it looks. This is your tornado threat here for today, as they'll be running about 10% in that area of yellow. We'll have to watch this closely to see how things develop this afternoon to see if that doesn't uptick a little bit more. But for right now, we're leaving it as an enhanced, running about 10% in those areas there as we head into this afternoon. Hail threat, little pocket of that, running there about 15%. That's not bad for this time of year, that's for sure, across Louisiana, portions of Arkansas, and Mississippi. And of course, the wind damage threat, that's going to be the biggest threat here for today, taking up a big part of real estate there. Again, in that enhanced zone where we could see wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. There's a very strong low-level jet that's going to be blowing up, across this area, and it's going to be very easy to work those higher winds down to the surface. Now, this system will begin to move off toward the east. Again, we'll see a marginal risk here going into your Sunday, Monday here along the east coast as this storm system exits the region here. So we'll be still tracking the severe weather threat heading into tomorrow as well. But as far as the overall risk here, just a couple of pockets to kind of watch for potential tornadoes across the mid-Atlantic and maybe across Georgia and the Florida Panhandle as we go into your Sunday and Monday period. Now, of course, the other part of this story here for today, as we've just been talking about, is the flooding risk. It's running pretty high there, where I just showed you there on the radar, as we could see upwards of 5+ inches of rain falling in a short amount of time in that zone here for today. Now, the good news is, as we look at the day two, it does back off some here for a big time for tomorrow. So we'll see things begin to improve there as we go into your day two here, right there. So there we're talking about areas of the mid-Atlantic seeing a little bit of heavy rain. But again, nothing like we're seeing out there for this morning and for today across areas of Tennessee and into Kentucky. So let's go ahead and break this thing down. What's driving this thing? We're watching this big trough that's kind of coming in from the west. So it is this trough here on the jet stream here that we're kind of watching. You got this big, deep in here, and it's going to swing like a pendulum across the southeast. And as it does so, it's going to be configured in a way where we as forecasters look for where the greatest spin is going to be and the greatest instability are going to collide at that time. So as this thing begins to shift off toward the east as the pendulum swings, it comes into a position that we call a negative tilt. So it comes to tilt like this, and when it becomes negative like that, that means we got additional wind shear in the atmosphere. So, and we're going to punch some warm air out ahead of it as well. So you give it some fuel, that's that warm air, and you give it some wind shear, that's the changing winds with height. Boy, you're looking at the perfect ingredients there for potential tornadoes. Now, the good news is this is going to move out fairly quickly, move on out to sea, and then we're going to be tracking that polar low, which is going to drop into the United States here as this thing moves toward the middle of the week. We're going to be really diving in some very cold temperatures here. That has been pretty consistent here with the models over the last several days. So it's going to be quite cold as this low is going to drop here, and even showing up here at the 300 millibar level, this polar vortex is going to drop down here in the United States, and it's going to be brutally cold. We're going to set some record lows, I think, for this week, especially going into Wednesday and Thursday across portions of the country as this slides on by. The good news is this is going to move out pretty quickly. And then the weather pattern for the rest of the month, from the 22nd to really going into the 1st of March, doesn't look all that bad. We'll have a couple of cold shots that may come down. Like here's one right there going toward the 26th. We'll get a cold shot coming down here, there. But as far as any major storm systems after this one, not really looking all that bad. But again, we got that winter system we got to watch toward the middle of the week. But again, the overall pattern, here's another little shot coming in here with some rain here across the deep south at the end of this run going in toward March 1st. So, but we're definitely going to see temperatures begin to modify across the country once this Arctic invasion pulls on out. So let's go ahead and break down this, how this thing's going to track out for today. We're looking at your high resolution model here. Again, we're going to be watching areas here across the southeast. We do have another storm system out here on the west coast as well, as we track this to about midnight on your Sunday. So we're looking at the high resolution model. Again, we got that snow invading there into areas of New England. We'll get some snow up that way, falling air, the colder air. Then watching this developing squall line, watching the rains out there on the west coast. But of course, this is the area that is the most concern here going into toward tonight. So this is 10 o'clock at night tonight. You got a pretty good squall line there moving across the southeast, and it starts to bow across portions of Alabama there. So that tells me we'll be dealing with some very strong straight line winds as this moves on through, coming into Georgia by about 3 in the morning, and then kind of sweeping across the state as we'll see some snows wrapping around on the back side of the system, obviously here across portions of Ohio and coming into Kentucky as that cold air rushes in behind the system, and this moves on off the eastern seaboard and sweeps into the northeast. Obviously, we've got to deal with some rains out there in the west as well. We'll deal with some rains and some intermountain snows out there with that next storm system coming there off the Pacific Northwest. Let's go a little bit closer. I want to show that once again going into the southeast once again as we kind of back this up here. I'll be back up here to the 6Z run. I want to take you all the way through this again as we watch the evolution of the storm system coming through Mississippi. So this is 11 o'clock at night. So this is really bad news to see these kind of storms firing up at night as this slides on through. Of course, nighttime storms can be the worst, and we're talking about tornadoes. That's even especially dangerous. And then by 2 o'clock in the morning, kind of cutting through the central portions of Alabama, it should begin losing its punch as it moves into Georgia a little bit. But again, I think we got enough upper level wind energy there to cause some headaches as this slides on through Georgia through the overnight hours. And then by 9 o'clock in the morning and 9, 10 o'clock, it's starting to clear off the coastal areas. So what's driving this system to kind of get this kind of severe weather in February? We look at a couple ingredients when we're looking at severe weather. We look at available fuel. We refer to it as CAPE, and we also look at wind shear and helicity, its energy in the atmosphere. And what we're seeing out there for this afternoon, for example, not bad. It's going to be fairly mild. We've got CAPE here sitting around 1,500 or so. That's really not all that bad. That may help get the initial storms kind of going here a little bit, although this will be losing its punch as we go into the overnight hours here as I go ahead and move this off toward the greater in time here, going toward 8, 9 o'clock. So notice the CAPE starts to kind of dwindle there a little bit as that line pushes off toward the east, but I don't think it's going to matter because of the strong upper level dynamics. This may help the initial firing a little bit, but as this goes on by, we're definitely going to see this CAPE drop off, except for right along the Gulf Coast here a little bit as this moves off toward the east. The other ingredient that I look at here is also dealing with helicity. That's the spin in the atmosphere. All right, so what we're looking at here is looking at the, that wind shear in the spin. Where are the best areas for seeing potential tornadoes to possibly spread up here? And looking at that, you can see the different tracks here, these helicity tracks, quite impressive here across portions of Alabama and into Mississippi as we go in toward tonight. So we're looking at some pretty good levels there. So when you look at this and you kind of put it all together, you look at this, what is called the significant tornado parameter here, and it's running pretty decent as well as we look in through tonight. So you see the higher parameters here going in for this afternoon, but the line really gets going heading in toward tonight. So it looks like here, especially right along Louisiana, this is where the highest levels are showing up for right now, although the best dynamics look like they're just a little bit further north. But you'll see this kind of push off toward the east into Alabama. North Georgia's not looking too bad, and there kind of sneaks there across areas of southern Georgia, as the day 2 was kind of showing there going into your Sunday, looking at potential tornadoes there as well. So we'll see how this tracks out here for us today as this moves on off. But again, once we get into your Sunday, things will begin to generally improve across the southeast. So as we go ahead and look at our forecast here beyond this initial storm system, the next storm system is going to be this big polar vortex. I mean, this is a big boy here. We're talking a big extreme cold with this, as this is going to be diving down here across the United States. And we're also going to be looking at some energy here as well that's going to be diving down. That's going to bring in the possibility of some snows here as well with this cold air invasion. So as this goes through Tuesday, you'll see the snows there breaking out across portions of Mississippi into Oklahoma, getting some freezing rain there across Arkansas, as we're going to watch a kind of a weak low here along the Gulf Coast kind of track with that cold air off toward the north. So it looks like this snow will track across the mid-south, going through Tennessee and in through Kentucky, maybe a little bit of freezing rain here across portions of northern Mississippi as well. Again, here's our big polar vortex low there on your Wednesday afternoon. Again, I do expect we're going to see some record lows with this very frigid temperatures moving on in. This snow is then spread out into the mid-Atlantic as we go in throughout the day on Wednesday. This is going late afternoon on Wednesday, and then going off the eastern seaboard there a little bit. It does start to deepen. The low drops to about a 578 millibar low there, so a decent nor'easter here for the big cities up into New England, heading in toward the 21st there. So that's not looking all that bad. It's basically what starts to happen is we start to phase a little bit of this upper level low and the surface low here a little bit. And if they ever phase together, boy, this thing can really blow out, but I don't think it's going to do that. This will kind of move on out to sea. Looks like it just kind of moves on out to sea with some pretty good heavy snows there across the big cities, New York up to Boston, going into Thursday night, and it should begin to wrap up as we go into Friday. And then beyond that, folks, it literally doesn't look like we got any big major storm systems out of this one. After that next system goes by the middle of the week, things begin to look pretty good here across the nation. We do have a cold shot, another one coming down here. You see the 540 line dropping down here, heading toward the 26th. So we got another cold shot coming down here in the east. And then I think we start to see a bit of a pattern change here a little bit as the cold air kind of retreats just a little bit. And we got another southern system here to watch. Doesn't look all that strong though, heading toward the 1st of March right through there. But again, looks like we're going to start to settle down here where the last week of the month is going to settle down a little bit, and we'll eventually see that cold air begin to retreat and pull on out. Again, looking at your rainfall totals here. Short term, we got to deal with that heavy rain there across the southeast there a little bit and toward areas of Kentucky and Tennessee. This area is going to see the heaviest rain. Of course, we got some heavy rains out there in the northwest as well with that approaching a new system. And I'm going to take this out to your 10-day total here, out to 240. Again, you can see most of the rain here, definitely here in the east and across the northwest. Southern California gets to dry out here for a little bit as we go through the next 10 days. Let's look at the snowfall totals here as well, as we're dealing with that one initial system here going through this weekend. So we'll have some snows here across portions of the northeast and parts of Michigan, stretching back that way. And then we're going to watch that next snow system that'll be coming in toward the middle of the week as we go in toward Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, we'll watch that snow. There it goes, coming out of the Rockies. As that cold air comes on in, we'll see the snows there erupting across portions of Kansas and into Missouri as we go toward Tuesday. And then this will spread across areas of the Mid-South. So we're looking at a snow track here just north of Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, but kind of sitting right through here. And of course, this is subject to change. If the low or the high changes in any degree, that snow position may change as we get closer to it. But that's where we're looking right now. It looks like the highest snow totals are going to be there across areas of Virginia with that next storm system, and then it exits off, and then we'll watch if it becomes a big nor'easter. We could be looking at some pretty significant snows there for the big cities, for New York up to Boston, going into Thursday and Friday as that next storm system begins to clear on out. And we'll stop this right about 2:40. So there's our track. So we'll be watching very closely that midweek storm to see if this track holds true with that next winter storm. Not a bad one, but definitely could be some heavy snows if we get a good nor'easter tracking for the Northeast. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the cold. Boy, this is the big story here. Still track. This hasn't really changed that much. Like I was doing a comparison with yesterday's. Still kind of holding the same spot. We got some below zero temperatures there and across New England and into areas of Michigan, but this is the main cold. We're still looking at 30 below zero temperatures up here across portions of Montana, and temperatures in this zone running well below where they're supposed to be. Again, look at the snapshot there. We're talking areas here pretty much on average getting close to 50 degrees below where they're supposed to be. Big 50. We're very cold, between 35 and 50 below zero in some cases. So I do expect to see some record lows with this. Now let's go ahead and track this as we go ahead and watch it again. We're going to watch that clash of air masses. That's going to bring us to severe weather there across the southeast. So as this moves on by, again, you see that Arctic air kind of settle on in and cool things down. But watch that deep purple, man. That's that 30 plus degrees below zero temperature, or below normal temperatures here moving on in here. And you're going in toward Wednesday morning. Boy, look how much of the country here is seeing these extreme temperatures. And this will continue to move into Thursday as well into the areas of the southeast. So look as we go in toward Thursday morning here, quite a bit of the country. I'd say about a third of the country seeing this significant cold snap here on your Thursday going on to the 20th. And then this will slowly begin to move on into the southeast going throughout the day on Thursday. Look at that, because quite a bit cold. Even down into Florida, they're not going to escape this cold as well, as we'll see temperatures down there. This will be running about 20 degrees below where they're supposed to be for this time of year as well, down toward Florida. So very nippy going in toward the 21st. Now, once this thing begins to move on off, going into the next weekend, it'll stay cold there across the east going into Saturday and Sunday through the weekend. But going into next week, we do see a big modification here across a big portion of the country. You notice a lot more red on this map, still holding some cool temperatures across the southeast going toward the 25th. I think we're starting to see indications, obviously, of a pattern shift. After you typically get a big dump of cold air like that, you typically will see a map like this in the coming days. This is going toward the 25th of February. Now, we still have that one little cool shot coming down there. There it is going into the 26th and 27th across the eastern third of the United States. But that will be hit and run as well as that moves off the eastern seaboard. And you see a big part of the country, the 28th, seeing above normal temperatures there. Looks like another cool shot going into the first there across the northeast, but much milder here out into the west. So let's go ahead and wrap this up by taking a look at the latest from the Climate Prediction Center here, again illustrating that Arctic outbreak settling into the deep south going into the 20th and 24th, looking at above normal temperatures out here in the west. Precipitation wise, things begin to settle down. Again, we got that one storm system we got to watch here toward the middle of the week, which is basically 19th and 20th that'll come tracking here and going up into the New England. But once that system goes by, beyond that, we're looking at a drier weather pattern. I mean, we were so active. A lot of this country was green there for a good portion of that. And as we go deeper into the month, wrapping up the month of February, still cold here in the southeast and milder here in the west. And I think the trend as we go into March is a lot of the country is going to see above normal temperatures. And we're still continuing with a fairly quiet weather pattern here across a big portion of the country as we go from the 22nd to the 28th, except for maybe up there toward areas of the Pacific Northwest and Texas and Florida showing a little bit of rain there as well. So again, we got a pretty active week in store for us here. And watch this severe weather here for today. So you guys make sure you stay weather aware. Obviously, we're talking about nighttime thunderstorms. I always like to pull these up. These Midland Weather Alert radios are a great thing to have. They do sell them at Walmart. You can go by there, or you can go buy your CVS or Walmart or Walgreens, things they usually typically have these things you can buy. And make sure you got a good weather app there as well. I also recommend Weather Call. They are also a good service to have if you just want to have that alert that'll ring your phone and let you know that you got something coming your way. That's also a great service to have as well. All right, that is your weather update here on your Saturday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Again, if you'd like to get these updates on a regular basis, all you gotta do is please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell to be alerted when I post this. As always, I do appreciate you guys' feedback and give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. All right, that's your update for your Saturday. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.